and welcome back to this cursed episode of The Movies Made Us Do It. This is our third attempt? Third?
It is. It's
third attempt.
Yep.
At recording this. We are trying desperately to cover Where Eagles Dare, internet issues, work, delaying. It's just been... Yes, because first it was work.
Yep.
Then it was internet, and then it was internet, and now here we are. So this is the
actually,
it's technically the fourth time because we delayed once before that.
We did, yeah.
So, well, hopefully this time, we'll get through it.
When toast crust.
Yes. When did you first see Where Eagles Dare?
Well, very much like the last movie we covered, Jason. When I was very little.
Yeah.
I think I first watched it with my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Because my grandfather was he liked his war movies and he liked his westerns. So I watched a lot of war movies and westerns with him. So yeah. I think that's when I first saw this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been, little. So it would have been late 70s, early.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I think it was like the same for me. It was, it was again much like Jason. It was one of those like Sunday movies. It was one your dad had on quite regular, and it's a great movie. It's great fun. Rewatching it, I had a real good time. I think we both said during one of our many attempts at recording this that like this movie's such trash, but it's so good. Like, it's so much fun.
Like, there are so many mistakes in this movie.
Yeah.
The uniforms are wrong. People are doing different, the wrong thing. Like, hairstyles is the worst. Is the most.
The hairstyles are terrible.
Not one hairstyle is from the 1940s. All the women have got 62s. Clint Eastwood refused to cut his hair, so he's got. I mean, we're not talking like shaggy hippie hair.
No, but it's
damn long for a German soldier. That's for sure.
That's the thing, because it's like, okay, like maybe the Yanks have, maybe just let himself go a bit because he's coming over. But it's like, no, you're meant to be undercover though. Yeah. Like, the Germans aren't going to put up with that shit.
Oh, and the other one is like, they are all of the whole unit that goes over. They are all way too old.
Yes.
They're like, I don't think one of them is under 40. I think they're all in their 40s. Actually, that's not true. I think Clint Eastwood was 38. I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Burton and Eastwood, they are playing officers. Mm-hmm. So you're like, maybe them.
So they could be a bit older.
But the rest,
you do have that leeway. But they all look sort of.
The rest certainly are too old. But I mean, it's 44, right? Winter of 44. Maybe the Germans are getting a bit more desperate. They're like bringing everyone they can in, just regardless of age. Get out there.
But they're supposed to be, for fuck's sake, paratroopers, aren't they? So
yes, yeah.
We're talking.
You'd think their knees would be gone by now, but
yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we open in winter of 1944, and first of all we see the plane, don't we? We see the transport plane.
Wonderful, music.
Oh, the score to this is so good as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a great, like, rousing.
Yeah, it's such a good time, this movie.
Yeah, Ron Goodwin, I think, is the composer.
Yeah,
and you do. I think I looked at the time, and it's like a 3-minute
intro,
but it does feel a little too long.
It does.
It goes on too long, but it's like only 3 minutes, and you think, okay, the reason it's actually not that long, but
it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time you watch it. When you've got to rewatch it because you've forgotten most of it because the internet cut out. I did fast forward. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, yes, I know this. Mountains, yes. But of course it does do we see them flying over the Alps.
Yeah.
And we briefly see the paratroopers. We see the key people. But then we have a flashback.
Yeah.
And we flash back to London. And obviously it turns out that Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood are not playing Nazis. Shock horror. They are actually MI6 agents plus an American.
Yeah.
And
OSS, isn't it?
OSS, yeah, sorry, thank you. And they're being briefed by Admiral Rowland and his executive officer, Colonel Turner.
Yeah. Played by Patrick Waymark, who
it's great.
We've covered with Blood on Satan's Crawl.
Yes. Fantastic actor. I really love his performance in this, actually.
I do as well, yeah. He's great.
I think it's really good, particularly the end. But so we learn that the team's mission is to rescue a captured American.
Yeah, American general whose plane went down. He was he was supposed to be going to see someone to talk. Oh, was it the Russians he was going to see?
Yeah, he was planning the D-Day, wasn't he? Effectively, wasn't he involved in the planning of D-Day? He was on his way somewhere, and it went to shit.
Yeah,
and now he's being held in Germany, and the plan is that this team of MI6 plus this OSS officer played by Clint Eastwood are gonna get into the castle and rescue him.
Yeah. And I love the fact that
is it Schloss Adler? The Castle of Eagles is apparently what that means. So that's one.
And not one of them is remotely happy about this whole thing. They're all like, "What? Why do we have to go?"
And Clint Eastwood's like, "Why the fuck am I even here?" Like, they're like, "Who am I? Why am I here?" Like, it's just like minding my own business in America, and now I'm here with you guys. Like, what's going on? None of them seem particularly thrilled. It's clear that Smith, Major Smith, played by Richard Burton, is well respected and regarded, and he's the best of the best.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to rely on him.
Practically Bond before Bond.
Yeah, it is kind of World War II Bond, right?
Yeah.
So they have to get into this supposedly impenetrable fortress, effectively.
And I like one of the guys says, "Well, this is ridiculous. What we do is we just get a load of Lancasters to fly over and just bomb the shit out of it." It's like, oh, it's all gone a bit aliens. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we can't do that. That would be terrible. A terrible idea. We know we've got to rescue him before they get any information out of him.
Yeah, we have to, instead of just bombing the fortress and killing the one person, we have to risk the lives of 6 people to go and get him. I mean, I guess you could argue that if they bombed it with Lancasters, someone could have survived, someone could have the information. It's not a guarantee.
It's a pretty, deep castle, so they probably would have survived the bombing. We've only been at the top that got.
And that's assuming the Lancasters could even get there to do it. I mean, presumably it's pretty well defended, this castle, Yeah. So yeah, we see we then kind of skip forward and we see the plane getting to the drop zone, and it's 7 of them that leave the plane, heading for the wilderness. And we also see a woman. She's in the cargo, right? She jumps out behind them.
She's hidden. She's
hidden.
She's hidden from them. Yeah.
I guess she was hidden in the cargo area, is my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so all of Smith's team, bar one, meet at the landing zone.
Yeah.
The radio man, Harrod, has gone missing, and they're not quite sure why, but I think it's Eastwood's character that's like, I think he when I was parachuting, I saw him land somewhere over there.
Yeah, he was heading for some trees, I think he said.
Yeah. So the major heads out there. Well, they all kind of head out there, but the major heads out there kind of ahead.
Yeah.
And he sees that the radio man's neck has been bruised and clearly broken.
It is a bit like, wow, wow, doctor, that was a really good diagnosis. He basically just picks him up and goes, broken neck. And you're like, what, eh? You didn't even look at him properly.
No. And he also kind of makes he's like, well, broken neck, and there's no logs or large rocks or anything in the snow, so therefore he's been assassinated.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't know. I would have just been like, well, there was trees here, and like, I mean, he could have broken his neck in any fucking number of ways on the way down.
Mean, he could have hit the.
He could have just fucking hit.
Down,
yeah.
Or,
he could have hit the plane on the fucking way out. Like,
I mean, he does do it once. Like they're all like walking away, aren't they? And
He waits
does
until
a thorough examination. I say thorough. He does a better examination of the cruise. And checks that, the snow, there's nothing in the snow and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he determines that it was done by possibly a rifle butt or a...
Yeah, I think that's his...
handle or something.
Yeah. But he obviously doesn't tell anyone this.
No.
So they head on to this shelter.
It's a alpine farm, isn't it? That only...
Yes.
They're like, whoa, we're going to get caught. It was like, no, because it's only used during the summertime, as it were. In the winter, everybody's down lower.
Yeah.
So they don't come this far up the mountain.
But not long after they get there, Smith, who never makes mistakes, ever, is like, oh, I forgot the code books that the radio man had. I'll go back out and get them. And it's like, okay, clearly something is up.
Yeah.
But anyway, he heads out, but instead of going back to the radio man, he heads to the barn.
Yeah.
And we meet the lady who jumped out of the back of the plane.
Yeah, Mary Ellison.
Mary Ellison, played by Mary Ur.
Yeah. Who is, or was, Midgeor's auntie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was also married to Robert Shaw.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So they're obviously, they have history, clearly.
Yeah, they're clearly together, aren't they?
Yeah. They're clearly they're quite adorable, actually.
I think Richard Burton gets the Han Solo award for nonchalance when she says, "Oh, you're late," and he says, "Well, next time I won't come." And she says, "Oh, and I thought you loved me," and he says, "Oh, I can't help what you think."
Yeah.
Well, okay then. And of course, there's a back and forth, and then it's like, he tells you who she's supposed to be. She's got to go into the town, and she there's an agent there waiting for her, and she'll tell her what is going on when she gets there. And there's a clearly like camera pulls away sort of thing, and it's like, oh well, we know what they're going to do then.
Yeah. And he returns, but like Schaefer is like clearly like
yeah. So we got. I can't remember what Schaefer says, but he says, "Oh, because I met this fabulous blonde, just lying on a snowdrift." He says, "Does she have any friends?" He says, "No, sadly not."
So yeah, the next day they head to basically like an overlook of the castle, don't they? They head down the ridge, and they I think it's Smith that's kind of looking out, and Schaefer kind of arrives behind him, and they have this conversation. Him and Eastwood. It's the first time that he kind of says like, "Why did you bring me here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Why me? You're all MI6 apart from me. Like, what's the deal?" Of course, Smith isn't going to tell him yet. But he will find out soon enough. As I said, he is basically George Peppard from the A-Team, and a plan will come together eventually. Perfectly well.
There's a really nice fade in as well when they're in the cabin, and Burton pulls the radio towards himself on the table, and the camera goes into it, and then it dissolves into the snow, and it's like that.
It's good. Yeah,
that is really good dissolve.
There were some really nice shots in this movie. I know I said it was trash. Like it's really good trash though. It's not like
beautiful. There's some utterly beautiful stuff in it. There's when the only reason we say it's trash is because this
it
isn't a
doesn't
serious
take
movie.
itself serious at all. Like,
Yeah,
and I think, as I said to you, like, there is no peril. Like,
no.
the only person I ever worried about watching this movie was there were moments when I thought Eastwood might die.
Oh, I think that
I never thought Burton was in any danger ever.
I think Burton's got like a wall of invisibility around him.
He's just gonna like he's
definitely
fine.
gonna survive.
He'll just continue on to Germany and kill Hitler and the entire Third Reich.
I think the most in peril character, I think, is Mary Ure when she's talking to the Gestapo guy, because that feels quite tense. There's real sort of like, yeah, he knows you're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when they're talking about, is it Dusseldorf, and she gives the wrong direction for the cathedral.
Yeah, you're right. The side characters you think may die.
Yeah,
Burton's fine.
Yeah, he's
not even heroically dying at the end. That was not an option for this guy.
No.
No way.
No, but there's some one soundtrack is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
And the cinematography is beautiful. There's some
really
genuinely beautiful shots. It's like when you see the castle, you see the cable car stuff, all beautifully shot. So there's it's not without sort of merit. This movie
it's a great movie. It's just very silly.
Yeah.
So they wait until kind of dusk, don't they, before heading down to this nearby village.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot the radio. He radios back to base and.
Oh yes, this frequently.
The immortal broadsword calling Danny boy.
Like this was a thing.
In so many things now, it's great.
A thing, and another thing that dads say all the time.
Yeah.
And you know why once you've seen this, because it happens about 5 times in the film.
Yeah. And then there was a thing with the radio as well. Is the fact that he's got this tiny radio and he somehow manages to talk to London with it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
But of course,
it's a magic antennae.
It's magic. The Germans need a whole room for this later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Burton's just got a walkie-talkie that goes all the way back to London. Why not? It's MI6 stuff.
Yeah,
you wouldn't understand.
It's Q unit.
Yeah, Q branch. They made it. So yeah, they wait until nightfall, and changing into German uniform, they head into the village down to a local inn. And here came, for me, one of the first things that I was really like, beyond the haircuts and stuff, where I was like, it is a little confusing. Because here it becomes clear that the German officers are going to do German accents.
Yeah.
Speaking English, but doing German accents.
Yeah.
Everyone else doesn't bother. They all just speak English.
Yeah.
It would have been far less confusing if the Germans also just didn't bother with the accent. Because now you've got Germans speaking English with an accent, but then there's bits when they're walking past and Eastwood just is talking to Burton and you're like, but he's talking with an American accent. I'm like, what is going on? Like, they're not even trying. And I'm like, when are you putting on the accent? When are you talking in German and when are you not?
Some of the actors are German, so
some of them,
or Polish in the case of Ingrid Pitt, who always had an accent. So you do have other proper accents that were their own. So it's only a few of them are putting it on the sort of the German accent.
Yes, the accent. It just feels like like Hunt for Red October.
Yes,
you're like, everybody on that sub talks Russian. That's fine.
Yeah, well,
that's fine.
It's been a long time since I've seen that, but in Hunt for Red October, don't they actually start?
It starts in Russian and then translates. Yes, it's a great transition,
which is really cool. It's a nice idea that you do that and then you change it to English because it's to set in people's minds that they're actually speaking Russian, but.
Like in 13th Warrior, when Antonio Banderas listens to some people for an hour, and then he's like, "Hey, I can speak."
Okay.
I know, it's fucking over several months. I'm
language, but
being an asshole. I know.
There's. I think they all say at the beginning. Well, not they all say So I think Smith says that you've all been chosen because you all speak German.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, is like there are moments when, for example, Smith will be with Pitt or someone like that. They'll be in a room away from the Germans, and I'm like, are you speaking American or German now? Because that adds a level of tension if you're speaking American and then you hear someone outside. If you're speaking in German, do you know what I mean? It's a bit like that. And I'm like, I don't know when you are or aren't. I assume they just talk German forever now.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
That's my assumption.
Only because it's going to be a Basil exposition moment where you just go, just enjoy the movie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's the thing, because it's around this point. You know, you've seen some of the hair.
Yep.
And now you're realizing what kind of movie this is. And you're like, okay, I'm just along for the ride. It's fine. This is fun. One of my favorite bits in a minute, actually. But, so yeah, they head in, and they're kind of listening in this bar for some information about the general. Of course, Smith has this exchange with the barmaid, and what's his name? The guy who's like is very unbecoming of a German officer.
I don't know what his name is, but yeah, he's.
But the dressing down that Burton gives him is so good. Yeah. It's so good.
Right. And I love he sits on his lap and he says, "Oh, was it?" Think about, there's a song that I used to sing or something that you may know, and he whistles the tune, and obviously it's the trigger tune to tell her that who he is.
Yeah.
And she sort of goes in, they sort of have a little whispered conversation, and then of course he says, "No, slap me." So she slaps him and goes off, and then of course he's at the unbecoming thing.
Yes, and he gives him a right dressing down. I can't remember, who does he say he's like the brother or cousin?
I think is it Himmler's brother,
Himmler's cousin or something like that. Yeah, because the guy looks terrified, and like Eastwood's like, "What did you fucking say to that guy?"
Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah, I said I was like Himmler's brother." It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that'll probably do it. And it would also explain why he thought he could get away with it as well. You know, he's like, I'm like absolutely. My brothers are like real high ranking. You know, I do what I want. So anyway, ultimately, after spending a little bit, long enough to not rouse suspicion, Burton also leaves, and he meets her and Mary in a woodshed, isn't it? It's like an old woodshed next to the bar. And he explains to them they need to hurry because the Germans do not have an American general. What they have is an actor. They have an impersonator called Cartwright Jones. And he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he's just a normal soldier, isn't he?
Yeah. And of course Mary's like, what the hell? It's just an imposter. Why are we even doing any of this? Like this is completely meaningless then. Like, what are we doing? But of course Smith will not explain. He's like, no, here's your papers. You're this person now. He's like servant or something, and she's going to ingratiate herself.
Staff, so she's come to be staff at the castle.
She's come to be staff, but she's also going to ingratiate herself with high-ranking officials there. Yeah. I think is the plan. And yeah, by pure chance, I don't quite understand. Just luck, I guess. Blind luck. There's a lot of that in this film. Smith leaves the shed and just finds another member of his team murdered on the floor.
Yeah, he finds Calabos.
He's just there. There he is.
Good old Calabos from Titans.
That face is so recognizable.
Yeah,
like you know,
he had some kind of bone structure problem. That's why his face is like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of face is like, well, you're not going to be leading man material.
No.
But in that day and age, you're guaranteed work for fucking ever.
We just didn't need to do very much to make you Calabos. We just added some chords.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, another member of the team has been murdered. They're kind of behind this car, aren't they? They're just kind of lying in the snow behind the car. He goes back to the inn, and he sees Schaefer.
He's been like severely beaten. He's all bloody.
Oh yeah, he's clearly fucked up.
Yeah.
Schaefer's kind of had enough at this point, and he's like, "What
Yeah.
is going on?"
Well,
Like,
he goes to him. He says, "Have you seen the other guys like leave or anything?" He says, "Well, I kept my eye on the door." He says, "But there's more than one way out of here." So
yeah. But Schaefer is kind of keen to find out what's going on. But unfortunately, as he questions Smith, the SS burst in.
Yeah. I know you get that. There's a brilliant shot when they turn up when they're driving in. Did you notice the biker? There's a biker in the foreground that comes in, and just as he stops, his foot clearly slips and he nearly goes over.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
that.
he nearly goes over. He sort of goes because obviously it's real fucking ice. So.
Yeah. I didn't notice that. That's funny. So,
the officer basically, they've surrounded the pub sort of thing, or the inn or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically the officer says, "We're looking for deserters from the training camp or whatever it is, and they've all gone off, and we're anybody who has wants to step up and set all this sort of things." And of course, so basically, Smith is like, "Okay, we're going to have to show ourselves here.
This is our quickest way in."
Yeah, this is the way we're going to have to do this. So let's get on with it. So they volunteer themselves as these deserters.
Yeah, and again, you're like, well, I don't know how much of this he knew was going to happen, but obviously they take the high-ranking officials in a separate car to the other guys.
Yeah.
So the three guys are taken away.
Grunts go in the back of a lorry. These two go in the nice car
for plot reasons. So yeah, they're driven away in the staff car, and I think during this, Mary is heading up to the castle, right, on the cable car.
Yeah.
Which is where she meets Fucko for the first time, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. The horrible man who looks like he looks like a Thunderbird.
Major von Happen.
Yes, he looks like a Thunderbird.
Darren Nesbitt. Yeah, the thing about him is he's supposed to be Gestapo.
Yeah.
But he's dressed like an SS guy.
He is.
Gestapo don't wear uniforms.
No.
Theoretically a civilian branch, I think. So they don't wear the uniforms. But, it works. He looks fantastic. You're right, he does look like a Thunderbird.
He looks like a Thunderbird, like an SS Thunderbird.
He's an SS Thunderbird.
He'd be
Captain
like
Black, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Scarlet.
I think it's the blonde hair and the blue eyes that kind of make it like it just really cements the Thunderbird to me.
And the thing about Darren Nesbitt as well is that he was Jewish.
Yeah.
Or he is Jewish because I think he's still alive.
Oh, really? Is he still alive?
Yeah, I think he's one of him and Clint Eastwood. I think are probably the only ones left.
Right.
Are still alive. But yeah, he was Jewish, and I think he didn't exactly get some shit for it, but he did get I think the Jewish Chronicle was like, "Why are you playing an SS Gestapo officer?" And he was like, "Because I play them so badly." And he said that apparently was okay. That was a fine answer for him. And I mean, and Ingrid Pitt, of course. I think we've discussed Ingrid Pitt before.
We have. We've done horror. We've done Hammer. We've definitely discussed Ingrid.
We have discussed Ingrid Pitt before, but she actually was in a concentration camp.
Yes. Yeah.
So she escaped from a concentration camp. So she was. I think she was probably quite uncomfortable being around the German uniforms. But
yeah, I mean, it can't be fucking easy.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Even though it's like, yeah, we're acting, we're on set, it's still like I'm still seeing these uniforms. It's like there were a number of people who survived the Titanic who lived long enough to be on set for A Night to Remember.
Yeah.
And they were like, fuck, traumatized. They were like, yeah, like they kind of wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to because it was very faithful to their understanding at the time of what happened. But yeah, they some of them were like, this is too real, like this is awful, and I can imagine it's much the same because there's a lot of war movies during this period with obviously actors who served or were
especially and a lot of the German actors were in some respects German Jews that had escaped
Yeah.
from Germany and were living in England, and most of them ended up playing, Nazis all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what in Anton Differing, who plays where is his, which one is it? It was Colonel Paul Kramer, who we haven't seen yet, but when he turns up, he was actually, I think, a German who escaped from the Nazis, but he was also gay, so he had
goodness,
numerous reasons to really probably not want to play a Nazi, but he did. I mean, his final role was playing a Nazi in Silver Nemesis.
Wow. Just like the end of the whole of his career, you just kind of haunted him that he was playing these awful people.
Yeah. I mean, he played them well.
Yeah, no, he did, absolutely. So anyway, they get in the car, and then they let them kind of drive for a little bit. You get this great shot. Burton looks in the driver's mirror, and you just get that shot of Eastwood's face.
Yeah,
kind of looking back at him, and they're kind of communicating silently. And they have a fight in the car, and I don't even know. Like, it gets to the point where I'm like, are any of you wearing seatbelts? Like, no. And then there's that one guy who flies through the windshield, and I'm like, was that Burton? was that Eastwood? I have no idea who that was. That could have been anyone.
Yeah, because it's the usual that they shoot the driver. So
yeah, of course.
Goes over, as it were.
Yeah.
Poor guy goes flying.
Yeah. But yeah, so they kill the soldiers. I think they hide the bodies, and then they hike back to the village.
Well, they put we get they put the bodies back in, because one of the bodies has come out. They put the bodies back in the car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They yeet it over the cliff,
yeah.
where upon halfway down the cliff, it explodes like it's made of gelignite.
Like any good Bond movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for no reason.
It was because all cars that were made before 1970 were like so unstable,
full of kerosene. I watched I was rewatching Dr. No yesterday, and it's the same thing happens in that. It's like car just slowly falls down like this slight incline, and then just explodes halfway down for no reason whatsoever. So you didn't even hear anything.
No.
But fine. Yeah, so they head back to the village and grab their gear.
We didn't explain the Mary thing very well. So she comes into the inn.
Yes.
The SS guy's already turned up. The Gestapo guy's already turned up. She goes over to.
He's pretty enamored with her immediately.
Yeah, he.
Very good at being creepy as fuck as well.
Heidi, Ingrid Pitt's character, basically, says, "Oh, cousin," blah blah blah, gives her a hug, says, "You come to the thing," and then she introduces him to, the major, and of course, he says, "Oh, well, I will escort you up to the castle. I'm going that way anyway," sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that she gets into the cable car with him, and this is one of the funny things that made me laugh. I actually never noticed him before until this time, and it's funny because we're talking about accents and things, right? Did you notice who the cable car operator was?
I can't say that I did.
It's oh, now I've got to find where I put the bloody notes. Philip Stone.
Oh, really?
Who played Greedy in The Shining.
Yeah.
He's the cable car operator, and for some reason he's basically got I think it's like a Cockney accent or something. He seems to be the only
Germans.
one in the entire movie that has a regional accent.
Yeah, apart from
they phone him up and say, they phone him up to bring the cable car, and I think he's sort of like, it's a bit, oh, do I have to, sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's Major Von Happen. It's like, oh shit, I better, get on with it.
I love that when they're like, I really cannot be fucked, and then they hear who it is, and they're like, oh yeah, immediately, sir, we're on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, we did kind of miss that bit. I think he does a really good job of being creepy.
Yeah.
Like creepy liking her.
But also, you get the impression that he's taking everything in.
Oh yeah, he is, like, you get the feeling he's only in the bar to suspect other Germans and everyone around him. Like, he's properly, And
I can't remember whether we've already seen him. I know there's a bit when I know what we missed. We missed when they were looking over, when they were in the trees.
Yes.
With the binoculars, we missed the helicopter.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
So the helicopter, there's a German helicopter that lands in the castle, and
he's very impressed by his helicopter. He's like, "What do you think of my helicopter? Look at my amazing helicopter." Yeah,
and there's a discussion about that, and then Major Happens is there, and they basically they show that they fucking hate him.
Yeah.
Even all the German officers hate this dude. They don't like that he's there.
It's effectively internal affairs, right?
Yeah. So they basically want to interrogate this general before the Gestapo get their hands on him, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Because what they were, and again in another sort of like, what the hell is that doing there? The helicopter I don't think was made till the 50s.
Well, no, I think again it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But they do at least. He is at least like, look at my super advanced new thing.
Yeah,
like, and he kind of makes out, this is a prototype.
They have helicopters. They just
not that model.
Like that.
Yeah. But they do at least make a big deal out of it and be like, look how special this is.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, they grab their gear. They get. I think this is where they pick up the briefcase of unlimited explosions. It's just got dynamite forever.
The bag of holding with
the bag of holding full of dynamite. Yeah, it's amazing. It never runs out. The amount of I wanted to count. I should have done the second time I watched this. I should have counted the amount of fucking dynamite that Eastwood pulls out of that thing. Just like every 5 minutes, he's like, I know, I'll blow it up. But yeah, they pick up.
It's the same with the magazines as well. I think. MP40 mags, I think, hold 30.
Oh god, there's a bit where Eastwood, given that he picked the gun up from someone else, so he's got one round in the bloody thing, or one clip. He just takes out half the German army with it. It's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, now that they've got their explosives, they get the American to blow stuff up. He blows up a warehouse.
Yep.
As they steal a bike, and I quite like the way that's framed, where the explosion goes off, is causing chaos, and they just ride out during the chaos.
Yeah, casually ride out. And I do love the switch from the stuntmen to the
oh yeah, in HD it looks terrible.
Sort of like close up sort of camera shots of Burton and Eastwood on the bike, and then when you get the long shots of the explosions going off, you've got the stuntman that is Burton stuntman, who's got the radio in. He's moving it in front of him himself to sort of like fend off the explosions. And then it cuts back to Burton, who's just sat there like
calmly
sat. I think they did dub this movie Who Doubles Dare, I think was the thing, because there were so many double shots.
There are a lot of double shots. So in fairness, I don't think I would have done a lot of the stunts in this if I didn't have to.
Eastwood, I think, did a few of his own.
Yeah.
And I think he's more likely to because he was a lot fitter. Burton, at this point, was drinking like, what?
Oh, yeah, he had a real...
supposedly 4 bottles of vodka a day.
Yeah, he had a real...
He was...
Some real demons.
Yeah, and I think at this point, his career was waning. His marriage with Taylor was on the rocks, and I mean he was just drinking all the time, and
which is kind of like, it's kind of a miracle this movie came together as well as it did. Really. Yeah, because Eastwood didn't want to do it.
No.
And thought the dialogue was terrible, so he gave all the dialogue to the drunk guy. It's like, get the drunk guy to do all the dialogue.
Which he was more than happy to do.
Well, of course, but I don't think Burton even wanted. I think Burton only did it because his kids wanted him to do it.
Yeah, Burton's. It was Taylor's kids. They wanted to see him in a movie that they could watch, because apparently at that point he was either in movies they couldn't watch or movies where he died. So they wanted to see him in an adventure.
Don't worry,
where he killed bad guys.
Don't worry, there is no risk of him dying in this film.
No,
fucking none.
And the funny thing is I think Burton hated war movies as well, so he hated this movie when it was finished. He never wanted to talk about it when people asked him about it. He just didn't want to do it. Really hated it, but he did it for his stepkids, which is that's kind of sweet.
Yeah,
and it's he's great in it. So
yeah, and I mean it's a fine movie. I mean, didn't Raul Julia did fucking Street Fighter because his kids wanted him to, and that was his last ever film. So it could have been worse.
I think there was at least one incident where he was so drunk he knocked himself out.
Jesus.
On set, yeah. So he was. I think there was a number of sort of bad incidences with him. I mean, there was one which I loved.
I mean, it was a lot, sadly, a lot more prevalent at the time.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Lon Chaney Jr. was awful for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean, there's tales of him with the mummy's outfit, and it just literally had allegedly. Rumor has it, mythology has it that it literally the mummy suit had a tube that he could just drink vodka from constantly while working. I mean, the thing is that him and his friends turned up. So there's a story of Peter O'Toole, Trevor Howard, and Richard Harris turned up on set one day. Or more than once, but they turned up one day, and all of those dudes were massive heavy drinkers. They were proper hellraisers, and it's sad, but it's also fucking awesome in a weird British way. It's that sort of drinking culture thing that we kind of respect them, but also pity them in a sort of weird way. That is a uniquely British thing, I think.
It is a very British thing. But they turned up on set one day and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna." I think it was like Friday sort of thing, and he basically said to the director, "Right, we're pissing off for the weekend," and the director was like, "Gonna be back by Monday, though, right? Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, we'll be fine." He didn't turn up till Wednesday.
Jesus.
So, yeah,
it's nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point they were all, I think late 60s. I think all those particular actors, they were all at the sort of, I think, the height of their drinking. I think it got, through various things, Richard Harris was, and his wives and O'Toole, they all had their sort of terrible sort of drinking problems at this point. It was sort of like the height. I mean, I think as they went on, they sort of calmed down a little towards the end, but, at this point is talking high, lots and lots of drinking and lots of partying right now.
Yeah. So they blow up the warehouse using that as a diversion, steal a motorbike, and they drive out. And along the way to the airport, they start putting bombs on telephone poles and trees and rigging tripwires and all sorts of stuff. Which also reminds me, I think we might have missed the bit when they find the big red bus, and they're like, "Yeah, big red bus. We will use this later."
Yeah, that was in the
village. Yeah. So they set up all of this just in case. You never know. And they're so lucky no one tripped any of those while they were. I guess you would have to purposely hit the poles to do it, but yeah. So they end up finding the they head to the cable car, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they're heading up. They find these agents heading up to the castle, and they get onto the roof. They get onto the roof of the terminal and then climb onto the roof of the cable car, and they ride the cable car up on the roof.
Yeah, the other members of their party are being taken up to the castle for interrogation.
Yeah,
supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do learn that the looking for deserters was actually a lie. They knew that they are actually British officers, and they were looking for British officers, not things, but they didn't want to tell everybody that there were British officers around.
Yeah, I guess it's an embarrassment.
Yeah, they make it.
Or would might damage morale to know that, even in our
The
most impenetrable,
spies here.
yeah, there's spies everywhere. It's like no, there's no spies. They're just deserters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said, I think on the phone, one of our attempted recordings of this, that I actually feel like, we've got this great action set piece later on top of the cable cars, the big fight.
Yeah.
I think this is way more tense. This whole bit when they're riding,
trying to be quiet, sort of thing, as it were.
Trying to be quiet, and there's a great shot. I think it might be my favorite shot of the movie, where Eastwood is struggling to climb onto the other side when they get to the other side.
Yeah.
And he's like slipping, and he ends up using the ice axe to kind of to hang on. And there's a shot where you can see him hanging on. He's trying to be quiet. Yeah. There's also guys, and you can see their shadows down below walking around. So you can see where they are. And it's such a tense scene because you're like, yeah, I could buy that Eastwood could die in this movie. Not Burton, but because it was Eastwood, it was like, this is really tense, this scene. And really well shot. But they do eventually manage to pull themselves up. And
I like that again though with the stuntmen and that.
Yes,
when you've got the actual shot of people on the top of the cable car, you can clearly see that it's not Burton and Eastwood.
No.
They don't look remotely like they're
no.
Who they're supposed to be. It's quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, it's like when you rewatch, like, this is Space Seed. The fight with Khan Kirk is terrible. Some of the in HD, you're like, fuck me. Like, they didn't even look remotely like them. But you got to think, on a small TV back in the day, it was fine.
Yeah.
You never would have noticed with
one of the stuntman, Alf Joint. I don't know whether it was this bit or whether it was during the fight stunt, but he lost 3 of his teeth.
Jesus.
During the stunt, so I'm not sure which part it was, but yeah, during one of the cable car stunts, he knocked his bloody teeth out.
He's punched by a drunk Richard Burton. So anyway, they managed to get onto the other side safely after some mild peril.
Yeah.
And we see that Mary, now high in the castle, lowers a rope down.
She's already been sort of processed by the German. I'm not sure. Like, I'm guessing she's like head of female staff.
Because her room's pretty big.
Yeah, they get. She got
for a servant.
Really
it's like,
good,
you've done all right. It's like Enterprise-E. It's like the Enterprise-E of castles. They're like, even the servants get fucking mansion-sized rooms. But she lowers a rope down so that they can climb up.
Yeah.
And they start making their plans.
And I don't know whether you noticed, but did you notice the difference between Burton going up and Eastwood going up?
No, but I did get like Batman vibes. I was like 66 Batman.
Oh yeah,
totally expecting totally expecting Lurch to come out the window. Or
Sammy
something.
Davis Jr. to open the window and
yeah. Bruce Lee.
Hey cats. No, so if you look at the difference between them is Clint Eastwood is struggling because he's actually doing it.
Oh.
Burton's winched up.
Yeah, Burton doesn't look bothered at all.
Because Burton was not physically capable of climbing up that.
Which is why it looks way more like Batman when Burton does it.
Yeah.
Because it's like effortless.
Yeah, because he gets winched up.
Anyway.
Or you could say, in film wise, because he's British, he's much better than the American officer.
He's just better. So Smith and Schaefer start making their way through the castle, and they're in uniform, so they can kind of get away with it once they're in the castle. And this will become an issue later because there is a point where the alarm's gone off, but no one's seen what they look like, and they could just walk away. But instead of that, they sneak around needlessly for ages and kind of make themselves look way more suspicious than they need to. Yeah. There's definitely a point in this movie, which we'll come to shortly, where they could just calmly walk away.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be fine.
It would be terribly dramatic, but you know.
No, but you know,
they have to do the sort of, you know, the sneaky stuff.
Sure. They come across some Germans talking about Carnaby, and he basically doesn't tell them anything. Obviously, he can't tell them anything because he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
You know, he's making out like he's like, you'll never make me crack, but it's like he doesn't know anything.
Look, you terrible people.
Yeah,
I'm an American general.
And I think it's like at this point that the other members of Smith's team are brought in as well. And obviously we see that they are double agents.
Yep.
So they're posing as British, but they are working for the Germans, which is how they knew everything. And there's this general. He's turned up with not only a helicopter that doesn't exist yet, but also some truth serum, which he's going to use on the general.
Which I don't think exists yet either.
No.
If it ever did.
If it ever did, yeah. And yeah, I do love the way that Smith kind of walks out. He just comes out of the shadows, just talking.
Yeah.
And he basically declares himself, and he says, these double agents of yours are lying.
Yeah.
And he says that he has been tracking them. He is actually SS. And he even points the gun at Schaefer.
Yep.
And he tells him to sit down and shut up.
Yep.
Again,
I think for about half of this movie, Clint Eastwood looks confused as fuck.
Yeah, it genuinely looks like he doesn't know what's going on.
It's like, what the fuck is going on in this stupid fucking
in the script, in anything. And I do like the bit when he's like, I can prove I am who I am.
Yeah.
He's like, call this guy, I forget his name. The general, the high-ranking official.
Yeah, it's another general.
He's basically been feeding crap to this general for like years or something, to where he thinks that
you find out that he Smith is a double agent, but he's a double agent for our side. So
yes,
he's been working with this general and giving him shit information, old or bad information, which they think is real, so that he can, you know, identify
just in case he needs this for this.
Yeah, they wake him up. It's like, tell him it's Johann Schmidt is what he's called now, isn't it? It's supposed to be. And it's like, what does he have? Does he have, like, is it 2 scars on his hand or something? Isn't it?
And how did he get them? And
and I like this. He says he calls him was it a renegade? He calls him.
Yeah, I think so.
Call him a traitor or something. And he says, what's his reply? He says, call him a renegade. He says, he called you a renegade. He says, ha, that's him. Then he goes back to bed.
yeah, he's like, oh, I'm off to bed again. So he's like, obviously these double agents are like, what the fuck? No, we're the real bad guys. He's not a bad guy. We are the bad guys. But it turns out this Smith is actually SS. He's double crossed them all, and he's gonna uncover this conspiracy.
Yeah,
and he says, I can prove it. He says you can get the traitors to write down all the information they've got on the Nazi agents working in England. The names of all
the other agents that they've, and they're who they meet with.
Yeah. And he gets them all to gathers all the notebooks up, and he gets Kramer to start reviewing it.
And he does write also. He writes a name down, doesn't he?
On his notebook, yeah.
Yeah, he writes a name down who is the head of the organization in England.
Yeah,
and shows it to one of the generals, and the general sort of nods his head, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and we don't see what the name is. He just shows him. He nods, and he closes the book. Then he collects all the numbers. Meanwhile, he
gives the notebooks to Kramer, and then he kind of winks and nods at Schaefer. He's like, "There's a machine gun on the ground.
There's a machine gun over there. Yeah.
There's a machine gun on the ground with unlimited bullets."
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's like, "Well, I want to compare the notes with my original," and of course he hands him the notebook, and Kramer starts going through the pages. He goes on way too long going through this note. It's clearly empty, buddy. He's like, "No, maybe on the next page there'll be something." Yeah, of course, all the pages are blank, and he looks up kind of stunned that Smith is, duped them all. And he's also tricked all of the double agents into giving all of the spy network away, basically. And then, so Schaefer pulls the gun, and they're all at kind of gunpoint then.
Yeah.
And Schaefer's just like, I'm about as confused as I will ever be. Like, I don't even know which way is up anymore. Like, I just don't know what planet I'm on.
I think he's basically, at this point, he's at the point where, right, if I don't start having to kill Nazis, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Well, he's about to get his wish, because boy howdy does he start killing Nazis in a minute. But at that point, I believe. Oh God, we simultaneous to this. We do have the really tense scene over drinks.
Yes, with von Hutton and Maria. Yeah, that where he's basically sort of pumping her for information as it is. And he's basically saying, where did you grow up? Oh, you grew up in Dusseldorf. And she says she makes a mistake where the cathedral is, and
then she kind of doesn't she like brush it off like, oh, I haven't been there for years, like,
Yeah, and he's like, well, I went through there, but I seem to remember the cathedral was the other side of whatever, the river or whatever it was. So he's already suspicious of her, and they make their way back up to the castle.
Yes. And then at this point, he enters the room.
Yeah.
Pointing the gun at Smith.
Yeah.
And tells Schaefer to also drop his gun, which he does.
Yeah.
But I can't quite. Oh no, it's Mary comes through the door behind him, right?
Hmm?
Mary comes through the door behind him, distracting him, and then Schaefer shoots him in the face. And then proceeds to shoot everyone.
They're trying to convince that von Happen, that who's a real spy, who's not.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, fuck you. So I'm going to interrogate you all. Fuck it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he gets, like you said, shot in the face.
Yeah.
So apparently the squib that went off for that stunt blinded him.
Jesus.
He was temporarily blinded.
Oh my God.
For a bit. I think he was fine afterwards, but yeah.
Still pretty scary though.
Yeah. It must have been a pretty sort of
pretty serious,
jagged, sharp explosion.
Yeah.
It ended up in his eyes.
Damn. So, for no reason whatsoever, other than they will need them in a minute, he decides to keep the three double agents.
Yeah, keeps the reason. Everybody else dies. The woman, the female.
He shoots her in the back.
She gets shot running away.
But the double agents.
They're using silence guns at this point, aren't they? So.
Yes. Yeah. But they keep the three double agents alive, and I had no idea why. It turns out, for plot contrivance later, they just needed them to be alive. Or at least one of them, I guess.
I mean, you can sort of think, well, maybe to take them home and interrogate them.
You're never getting them out of this castle.
But I wouldn't have thought so, no. There's like three, well, theoretically, four. You've got four people trying to control these three people that will do nothing but try and escape.
Yeah, if you shot those three guys in the face, you could happily probably all walk out of there and be okay.
Yeah, to be honest.
Probably would have been fine. But instead of that, they're like, no, we're going to take these three known traitors with us. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah.
So they, of course, Schaefer starts putting bombs everywhere. as he routinely does from this point on in the movie. He just blows everything up. He puts bombs in...
There's even one bit which made me laugh. Is they're walking along one of the corridors, I think it is, and he looks out of the window and there's like a couple of soldiers.
He just throws casually lobs the fucking dynamite.
I'm saying, it's like, how did they not hear that?
It's
it
so
landed
funny.
right next to them.
I forgot about that. That made me laugh as well. That was great. It's because it's like such an opportunistic thing to do. He just looks out the window. It's like, yeah, all right.
I think it's like a box of ammo or something, isn't it? And he's just like, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's like anti-air or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
He's like, yeah, fuck it. I think I could lob it that far. No,
is it a gun emplacement?
It looks like a gun emplacement.
Yeah, it's a gun emplacement.
I think it's like anti-air or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a funny shot. So, in any case, they make their way towards a radio room. On the way, they do end up having the alarm set off.
It's the actual radio operator that sets it off, isn't it?
Yeah. He kind of catches them, sets it off, and I love that Eastwood just breaks the alarm near them. It's like that's not going to solve the.
No,
it's not going to solve anything. It's going off around the whole castle.
Yeah,
Schaefer. But Schaefer's like, maybe if I just break this one speaker. Like, no, I don't think that's how alarms work.
No.
But yeah, and of course we get another.
That's a vaguely tense scene when the radio operator's listening to music, isn't it? He's changing the station.
Yeah.
And Schaefer sort of slowly getting like to closer and closer to sort of off him.
He's got the box, hasn't he? He's like, hasn't he got a box or something? And he's got the briefcase full of dynamite, and he opens the briefcase. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Which is also high risk because there's an officer behind him as well that could probably see that box is just full of dynamite.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is quite a tense scene. It's quite good. But the alarm is sounding. A million German officers coming up the stairs, and it's down to Schaefer and his one clip of unlimited ammo machine gun to just start blasting them all away.
We do actually see him reload a couple of times.
Not enough, but yeah, a couple of times. But yeah, so he's holding them off whilst Burton is determined to call from here the plane. I guess that he lost his radio somewhere. I don't know. It seemed like a better idea to have done that somewhere else.
Yeah, they weren't carrying it, so he uses the radio there.
Yeah. He then tells one of the traitors, because they're running out of presumably ammo or whatever, and the explosives are about to go off. He tells one of them to start climbing down. One of the traitors.
Yeah.
At gunpoint, he starts climbing down and tells Schaefer and Mary and co to all hide in the other room, which they do. And of course, the Germans burst in, see the rope kind of moving as someone's clearly climbing down. They look down and shoot the traitor.
Yep.
Thinking that the rest have escaped on foot and that was the last man, they all head out looking for them. Luckily, don't check that one room. Where they're all hiding. So now they just need to get back, get out and get back. So they head towards the cable car, which is where the other two traitors who have made it this far decide sod this. And are having none of Burton's plans.
Yep.
And make their way down out on a cable car. Themselves.
Yeah, they basically overpower Eastwood's character, and
they knock him out, don't they?
Yeah, they knock him out, and there's a sort of a bit of a sort of standoff between them and Burton, who's still on the roof of the cable.
Yeah.
Sort of access shed, as it were, or something. And they get. So, I mean, the thing with this is he didn't need to jump on the cable car. He could have just jumped in and reversed the thing, brought them back up.
I know, yeah. He also had dynamite. He could have just lobbed that on there and been done with it.
I mean, yeah, he could have done that too.
Because he jumps on to put the dynamite. Like, you could have just probably carefully placed it as it went underneath you. but fine.
But it is actually a really cool scene.
That's the thing. Like that's like most of this movie is like it's nonsensical, but it's really fun, and it's really tense, action. So yes, he jumps on top of the cable car, and it's now for reasons unknown, he's decided he's going to also jump on the cable car, and of course they notice him straight away, and I love. I'm like, you're dead. Like, they just need to shoot the fucker. He's dead. There's not much real estate up there for him to hide behind, but somehow he manages.
But he does. He fires off a couple of rounds, but he runs out the bullets quite quickly. And I love that it's the old-fashioned, God damn it, and throws the gun down in a temper tantrum.
Yeah. Of course, one of them climbs up there and starts this whole fight. Burton's got an injured hand, so it's all very tense.
Yeah.
There is that great moment. I do think the bit when, because this fight goes on for a while as everyone helplessly looks on from the other side. I do think I do almost feel sorry for the guy who ends up hanging off the edge, and he's like, "Help me, help me!"
Yeah,
it just goes on way too long, and it's like, "Oh, please put this poor guy out of his misery."
It's actually quite cool because basically the two guys have climbed out of the car from either end of the car,
and they're kind of both hanging on to Burton.
One of them's fighting with him, and the other's yanking on his legs, sort of trying to pull him off, and that's really cool. It's a very, very well done little.
It is, set. Yeah. It is.
And of course, he viciously hacks one of them in the arm with the
pickaxe, the ice pick. Yeah. Ultimately,
very Kensington gore as well.
Oh yeah, it's very red.
Really red.
Very red. And of course, he overpowers. One of them falls out. The other one climbs back down into the cable car. Burton sees another cable car, which looks like it's fucking miles away, but somehow he jumps over to it, just as the other cable car explodes. I think doesn't the guy realize there's a bomb?
Jumps over.
Yeah. And the guy notices the bomb just in the last second, right? If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
As he should in every good action movie, that should always happen. So yes, then Burton obviously makes his way back up on the other cable car. I'm not quite sure how this cable car system works. There is a good chance this could have just sunk the entire thing, blowing up a cable car midway. I don't know. It still feels dangerous to me.
Could have quite easily have shared the cables, which meant with the other.
I would have thought. Yeah, I would have thought they'd all die. Well. Yeah, but no, luckily not. Luckily, it's okay.
I don't know whether they would. Maybe they would have systems in place that stop if one.
I don't know.
I
Can
guess
you
I've
have
never
a system in place
to cable cars to know how they work? To be honest,
I don't know. Can you have a system in place for exploding cable cars? I don't know.
I mean, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing there may be something that they're on separate systems.
Yeah.
Maybe they're completely separate. Actually, like they just go up and down. They don't go around.
Could be.
That may, in which case, it may be fine. Maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
It still felt high risk to me, but whatever. Anyway, they all get on the cable car, and they
basically locked the doors into the room and barred them, sort of thing.
Yeah, and the Germans are desperately trying to get in. All the bombs go off in the castle and everywhere, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Yes, they managed to get back down to the village using the other. They escaped to the village.
Well, but they don't get down. So the soldiers turn up, they shoot at them.
Yes.
And they jump in the river.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, sorry. Yes, I've watched this bloody twice this week as well. Yes, they
escape the car by jumping in the river.
By jumping in the frozen river.
Yeah, which probably means they're probably all dead.
Yeah, you'd think, but it's fine. Whatever.
They come out pretty dry, to be fair.
I mean, Mary's hair is still great. It's fine.
Yeah.
They managed to make it to the village. Back to the village, they get in their bus, the bus that they found earlier, which is like a snow plow bus. It's got like a plow on the front. because they're in the
They
Alps.
meet up with Heidi as well, so Heidi's with them.
Yes, yeah, everyone's fine.
Yeah.
And they get in the bus and off they go with the Germans in high pursuit. But of course, they've laid bombs all the way along this road, so they start tripping them with the snowplow end of the bus, setting off these delayed explosions, which take out some of them, and cause minor inconveniences. I don't think it really stops anyone. It feels like it's more of a pain than anything. But
the tree, there's a stick in the way.
Yeah, there's a stick in the way of my tank. Oh. But yeah, so they managed to get down, and
they stop it. They stop it. I mean,
they have to wait for the plane to arrive.
There's lots of gunfire, and again, that bus is clearly bulletproof because
Yeah, well,
And again, I think it's a 50s bus, not a 40s bus, but that's fine.
Yeah.
There's
a very advanced castle. This place. It has all really the 50s gear is here.
Yeah, lots of really cool shooting as they
great.
make them escape. They stop at one point to rig a bridge, which they probably didn't need to do. They probably could have just got away with putting some bombs on it and it would have gone, but that's fine.
They have got time. I think because they are still waiting for the plane, aren't they? So I guess they're like, well, we got a while. Might as well blow this bridge up while we're here, and
Yeah.
But yeah, so they wait for the plane to come in, and
they base the plane lands. They drive into a load of planes.
Yeah,
just breaking them so that
they can't pursue.
Destroy anything that could pursue them.
Of course, they do the usual thing of like, here's an aircraft.
Yeah,
and it's getting fucking Swiss cheesed from Nazi bullets, but it's fine. It still just takes off no problem.
No, it's great.
As always.
Rather like the bus.
Like the bus. It's just made of
bulletproof.
Yeah, it's made of bulletproof. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, they get in the plane. Plane takes off, and they're safe.
Surprised to see Colonel Turner.
Well, yes, Colonel Turner's come personally. Second in command of British intelligence has just decided to come all the way to Germany on a plane on a dangerous mission.
Doesn't make sense anyway, because he was in London.
Yeah.
I presume this plane was not in England. I presume it was being stashed somewhere close-ish.
I would imagine they didn't fly it all the way from England, but...
No. So how the hell he got on board...
I mean, I don't know. I mean, sending undercover operatives in a Luftwaffe plane from England all the way to Germany feels very high risk to me. Like, getting across the channel feels dicey at best. I would like to think it was somewhere closer.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's here.
Again, we just go, it's fine.
It's fine.
Just go with it.
Whatever. He's just here. The second in command of British intelligence has decided to turn up personally. And, of course, Smith gives him the notebook. He starts looking completely in disbelief. He's, oh my goodness, I can't believe all of these agents in the top areas of England. Like we'll deal with them when we get back. And he says, well, I've got one more name. I've got the ringleader of them all. Yeah. And of course he looks at it and he looks back and he's like, it's your name, Colonel. Don't be surprised. I love it. Well, I can buy this, right? He's the head of British intelligence. Probably doesn't know the weight of a gun, loaded or unloaded, but he's got this machine gun. And
possibly, yeah.
Possibly, I don't know. It's a nice bit of fun in it.
Yeah, well, it's not that it's unloaded. He took the firing pin.
Oh, sorry, no, you're right. So he wouldn't have noticed the difference in weight anyway. So
yeah, that would have been fine.
I mean, you could argue that if he started shooting a machine gun in that plane, they're all dead. But but never mind. No, you're right. Sorry, he did. He took the pin. Yeah. So obviously he points the gun and he's like, yeah, we
took the liberty of removing the firing pin.
Yeah, he's like, basically, we knew you were the traitor all along. Like, we knew way in advance. He was like, but the head of intelligence insisted that you came on this flight, didn't he? And of course, he gave you that gun, didn't he?
Yeah.
Made sure you had it, didn't he? And of course, they've removed the firing pin. And he says to Turner, well, you're going to go back. You're going to face the hangman's noose for this. You're a traitor to England. And he says, do I have any alternative? And I actually really like this scene where he's like, I've got no more cards to play. Do I have any alternative? And he says, if you want it, there is an alternative if you want it. And of course, Turner knows immediately what it means. Mm-hmm. And he just calmly kind of nods, gets up, walks to the door, and jumps out the plane. Obviously, we don't see that, but, no. 1 minute he's there, next minute, like Mr. Ben, he's disappeared. We can assume with the door open, because the next shot is Eastwood closing the door, isn't it? So and Schaefer says, like, is this over now? Like, can I go home? Like, what am I doing? And he says, well, he finally says to him, I needed you because you were the one person I could trust.
Yeah.
You're not from England. You're not from MI6. You're totally unrelated. So I knew I could trust you.
Yeah.
And
he knew he could trust. He knew he could trust Mary because Mary's basically his agent. So he knew that. Yeah. Those were the two that he could trust. Everybody else was under suspicion.
Yes. Yeah. And Smith kind of he say something like, well, next time leave me out of it, basically. Like,
yeah, he says next time you're doing this, make it an all British operation, all right?
yeah. And of course he said, is that it, Major? And Smith says yes, and then he kind of leans back and goes to sleep.
Yeah,
knowing that his job is done.
Yeah,
and off they go to England.
So apparently the book. So Alistair McLean,
I've never read the book.
No, I haven't. So Alistair McLean, when they basically wanted to do this movie, they wanted to do a sort of action war movie.
Yeah.
They basically approached McLean and said, because he'd already done a number of war movies that had been adapted. So he said, write the script, and he wrote the book more or less at the same time. I think slightly later, but more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
So apparently in the book, Eastwood's character doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. I think I read that online somewhere that he doesn't. Oh no, actually, you may have told me last.
It could have been me. Yeah. He basically says, that he doesn't kill anybody, and it's apparently a lot more humorous. And when they're about to fly back, I think at the end, when he radios whoever it is, he says, make sure there's a priest there so that I can marry Mary or something. But just like, okay, so yeah, apparently the book is quite different. It's not anywhere near as bloodthirsty.
Well, I do wonder whether a lot of the death and action in this is due to Eastwood refusing to say many lines. They were like, we've got to give him something to do.
They clearly wanted to make it as action packed as possible, which
Yeah, and since Eastwood
I think it's got a death count of 100.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the hallway scene alone.
Yeah,
Eastwood is just mowing people down.
Yeah,
because that scene goes on for ages while he's on the radio, and Eastwood is just unloading.
Yeah.
I love this movie. Like I said, it's silly, but it knows it's being silly. It's not taking itself terribly seriously.
It's another one of those movies, just like The Rock and...
Yes, exactly. This is like if Michael Bay was around at this time and made a war movie. That's what this is, yes.
And if it's on TV, I will just sit and watch it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those great movies. And the director... Brian G. Hutton, his next movie was Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah,
which again is a similar sort of movie. So over the top, silly, but absolutely, a real hoop. I mean, that one's even more fucking
outrageous.
what's the word I'm looking for? Anachronistic.
Yes. Yes.
Because I mean, fucking 8-Ball's character is a 1960s, 1970s, early 70s hippie. He's clearly that whole tank crew were fucking hippies.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they doing in 1940, like 5 or whatever it is?
They tripped so hard they went back in time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I mean, 8-Ball is one of my favourite characters.
He's great. That's the thing.
Belong in that movie.
It makes no sense, but it's fun.
Yeah,
and that's like you said. That's this movie. It's really silly, but it's so much fun.
It's a proper boys' own adventure movie. That you know, that even it knows what it is.
And do you know what? As a kid,
mm-hmm.
I didn't notice the haircuts. I didn't notice any of this stuff. You know, like it's only as an adult when you watch it that you're like, what is this? But as a kid, it was all great. You know,
absolutely. And that's kind of I mean, it was literally that was what it was made for. It was made for. It was made for Burton's kids,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
it's really funny. I mean, I think McLean and Burton fell out about the script because I think they all hated it.
Yeah.
And you know, but I think they made up years later because they're actually buried in the same, I think, Swiss graveyard.
Oh wow.
So yeah, they lived not very far away from each other in Switzerland, I think.
I didn't know that.
Mm.
Well,
yeah, it's a real fun, silly movie.
Yeah, it's tremendous fun.
You got your good guys, you got your bad guys, and it's such a fucking convoluted.
It's just yeah.
I mean, it really does make no sense when you sort of stop and think about it, but it's awesome. It's just so
yeah,
it's fun.
Just awesome and fun. It makes like you said, it makes no sense. You don't even know. You're like, how much of this did Burton's character actually plan versus how much of it could you possibly plan versus it just being luck that you're passing off as a plan versus it all just falls into place, A-Team style, just perfectly falls into place by pure happenstance.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there were, I don't remember specific games, but I'm pretty sure that there's a bus escape in one of the maybe one of the Medal of Honors that's
quite possibly
lifted straight out of this movie.
I mean, this whole movie feels like Wolfenstein the movie.
yeah,
to be honest, like it could be Wolfenstein 3D the movie. Just call him Blazkowicz.
Yeah.
You
might as well be. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Jesus Christ, Blazkowicz survives getting his head cut off for fuck's sake.
Oh, that's in the later games, isn't it? Yeah, I was thinking of. I keep forgetting that those games are still going. Those are good. Those newer ones as well. They're fun.
I like that. So, yeah, for the most part, the one with the daughters is shit.
I never played that one, so I played up to the second one, and I haven't played beyond that.
But what I like about those is it starts getting really, really steampunky by the time you get to.
Yeah, well, it's a what if, isn't it? So it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And yeah. Good stuff. Well, anyway, we did it, Matt. We got through this cursed episode. We had your neighbor started drilling halfway through it. I was late because of work. It's been delayed 3 times, but we did it. It's done. And we will be back next week. No issues. And we'll be reviewing some new movies. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.